It is the vision of our founders. It is the courage of certain individuals possessing great qualities of leadership. It is the action of many friends, including legislators, civic leaders, scholars, artists, and members of the community that have joined hands to continue in the effort required to sow, nurture, and assure the growth of a proud cultural organization. The Chinese American Educational and Cultural Center of Michigan, better known as CAECC. Since 1976, in the year of the dragon, CAECC has come to embrace Michigan's residents of all backgrounds who share a common interest: the desire to learn, understand, and appreciate an ancient civilization that is now a part of Michigan culture. The center was founded to serve the needs and interests of the people of Michigan, thus fostering multicultural relationships. Its efforts have merited widespread recognition on a state and national level throughout the Chinese, the art, and the academic communities. The dual role of CAECC as a presenting and service organization has provided it with a rich knowledge of the needs and interests of the people in Michigan. CAECC is proud to share the rich cultural heritage which is beginning to be woven into the fiber of Michigan culture. The CAECC was formed to familiarize the American public with the rich cultural heritage of the Chinese, to sponsor and coordinate activities and integrate the essence of Chinese heritage into American culture, to foster a better understanding of the Chinese ethnic community and an awareness of the Chinese contribution to the pluralistic culture of America. In addition to contributions from individuals and corporations, our major funding agents include the National Endowment for the Arts, Michigan Council for the Arts, Detroit Council of Arts, and the Michigan Council for the Humanities. Every source of support helps strengthen CAECC's ongoing programs to preserve Michigan Chinese historical records, supplement school education, and provide public education. In addition, CAECC maintains a repertory, a resource and publication department, and a consultation and referral bureau. All of these services bear witness to the enrichment of Michigan culture. CAECC's contribution to Michigan has now expanded to serve as a liaison between the general public and higher educational institutions, fill the void of higher educational agencies which emphasize the study of China but severely lack outreach programs, sponsor Chinese cultural and arts programs to supplement Michigan school education, enrich and update the life of Michigan people through cultural and arts programs, tap Michigan's richest resources, human resources, to improve community life, encourage an ethnic group to interact with the larger society through working together on educational and cultural programs. A significant contribution that CAECC takes great pride in is the recent establishment of the first Center of Chinese American Studies in the nation. The center is part of Eastern Michigan University. Chinese Americans nationwide owe a great deal to Senator David Holmes, Jr. in assisting CAECC with this historical breakthrough. It is also a vision shared by members of the Regents, former Eastern Michigan University President Dr. John Porter, the Provost Dr. Ronald Collins, and Dr. Donald Banyan, to create a place for the study and research of the Chinese Americans past, present, and future. When CAECC was first formed, our research revealed that major repositories in the nation put a great deal of emphasis on European immigrants' archival material collection. Not much has been collected on Asian Americans. In Michigan, the history of Chinese Americans has remained untold since the first Chinese migrated to Michigan in 1872. Perhaps more than other people in the rest of the world, we Chinese see ourselves in historical perspective. We are strongly aware of our heritage. It is with this in mind that we launched our first project on the research of our past records. The Archives Committee of CAECC, with a grant from the Michigan Council for the Humanities, researched, documented, and put together a traveling exhibit featuring pictorial materials of early Chinese settlers in Detroit. CAECC's traveling exhibit, Early Chinese Settlers in Detroit, has been displayed in several museums, public libraries, and art galleries. Members of the Archives Committee have worked with educational and cultural agencies in presenting Chinese seminars for teachers and the general public. It has just completed a book entitled Early Michigan Chinese Settlers, 1872 to 1940s, a pending publication of the Wayne State University Press, culminating the first phase of this project. The second phase will start with the 1950s. Since the 50s, Michigan, as well as other parts of the nation, experienced a big wave of Chinese immigrants of diversified backgrounds. Refugees, officials, and family members who fled the communists, and students who came for higher education. Many became naturalized citizens. The descendants of early Michigan Chinese, joined by Chinese of diversified provincial traits, dialects, and places of origin, mainly Taiwan, Hong Kong, Vietnam, and other parts of Southeast Asian countries, form the present Michigan ethnic Chinese Americans. This new pattern of settlement helps shape Michigan history of recent decades. The CAECC Archives Committee is committed to continuing in the collection and documentation of information relating to such topics. Through tracing the experiences of the early Michigan Chinese settlers, CAECC discovered a significant aspect of Chinese art activity worth documenting for Michigan art history. Michigan has a claim to the legacy of the world's longest and most continuous civilization through the art objects in museums and in private holdings. In addition to exposing the general public to museum collections of Chinese arts, CAECC also makes efforts to encourage private collectors to share their treasures and collecting experiences with art historians, curators, connoisseurs, and other interested groups. The sources of these collections are heirlooms or gifts from the artists because of family or kinship, gifts on special occasions, and other means of acquisition. The significance and authenticity of these items serve as invaluable resources for the study of Chinese art and culture. To date, CAECC has produced the first two publications in a series documenting Chinese art objects in Michigan. The first publication, entitled Chinese Art from Private Collections in Michigan, is an arrangement of over 80 black and white photographs of Chinese art objects from private Michigan collections displayed at Meadowbrook Art Gallery in 1985. Exhibit items span over 3,000 years, from Shang Dynasty sacrificial vessels to 20th century paintings of Shanghai and Canton schools. Full descriptions of the 1,010 exhibits place objects in historical context. Chronology and selected bibliography are also included. Another publication entitled Chinese Calligraphy in Michigan Private Collections, a Scholarly Review, documents the development of Chinese calligraphy from oracle bones to the present Kaishu, covering a period of over 2,000 years. Scholarly examination of outstanding calligraphy works in various private collections in Michigan includes 67 black and white photographs of this highly individual and elegant art form. The impact of such projects is several-fold: to educate and benefit collectors of Chinese art by providing them with the best examples of each genre and epoch of Chinese art; To stimulate Michigan collectors to travel and collect Chinese art in the future from other parts of the United States and throughout the world. To benefit Michigan museums by establishing contacts between curators of Chinese art and collectors. To benefit students, artists, and educators at all levels by broadening their horizons. To help educate the public by presenting them with objects of beauty and cultural value. Another precious resource that contributes to the diversity and richness of Michigan's culture are the many fine Chinese artists within the Chinese community. As arts are the basis of Chinese culture, CAECC assumes the responsibility to encourage artists in the pursuit of excellence by providing them technical assistance, referral service, training, as well as sponsoring exhibitions and performances to increase their visibility. In order to record accurate information, CAECC has begun to document current artists' activities and their works. 7 Michigan Chinese Artists is a commemorative booklet featuring the works of notable Chinese Michigan artists. Styles range from traditional Chinese landscapes using motif and watercolor to contemporary abstracts in oil, acrylic, graphic design, unique pottery, and clay sculptures. Personal biographic notes offer insight on methods and creative development of each artist. CAECC's collection of archival materials and its publications on Chinese culture and the arts have become vital educational resources for the general public and schools in Michigan, who severely lack materials on Chinese American experiences. The lack of Asian ethnic resource materials is generally mentioned as the main cause for the inadequacies of the social studies, bilingual, and multicultural programs in school education. Compared to other minority groups, Asian American students receive much less or no education about their own cultural heritage. There are 2 major factors that contribute to this situation. First, few educators realize that the political ideologies which separate the people in Taiwan and mainland China, as well as the diversified background of their Chinese American students, have their differences and commonalities. This makes interpretation of Chinese culture a multidimensional task. When they look to higher education institutions for materials and enrichment programs, they are often furnished with material only on China, but rarely on the Chinese American ethnic heritage. Second, such a situation is also complicated in recent years by the overwhelming interest in China, influencing educators to follow the trend. Even this trend has not been supported by well-designed enrichment programs for teachers to cope with this ancient civilization. Many teachers depend heavily on book learning. Few have visited China. Almost all base their teaching of general Chinese culture on contemporary mainland China, thus evoking misleading concepts. This often results in educational crisis suffered by students when they come to understand their peers, the Chinese American students' background. For the Chinese ethnic students who are in the process of searching for their own identity, it is extremely confusing. Such an educational issue demands a well-designed program, which Michigan lacks. For years, Michigan has boasted of its unequal resources in Asian studies, but it has not produced materials or offered well-structured enrichment programs for teachers concerning Asian Americans. CAECC addresses this issue through offering a well-balanced Chinese cultural program for teachers. This includes the study of mainland China, Taiwan, and the Chinese Americans on both national and international learning levels. These programs have been presented through symposia, curriculum development, lecture demonstrations, exhibitions, and performing arts. CAECC has worked with several school districts to familiarize educators with the complexities in teaching Chinese culture. Students are not the only segment of the American society who have limited contacts with the Asian world. Many adults are still inadequately informed on the substance of China. Despite having experienced both world wars and the two wars in Asia, America's impression of the Chinese still remains exotic, mysterious, interesting, or is based on stereotypical images. Except for a few big cities, rarely are there any programs offered to the public on this ancient civilization or the Chinese Americans. For more than a decade, CAECC has been making an effort to fulfill public needs through symposia, workshops, lectures, and dialogues. These activities have in recent years brought forth increasing numbers of well-informed and empathetic individuals who share their rich knowledge and experiences on Chinese culture and the arts with members of the Chinese community, thus offering mutual advantage. Interaction between the two groups develop in-depth learning and appreciation. To further encourage such efforts as well as respond to their needs for updated information, CAECC sponsors lectures in different parts of Michigan. Guest speakers include local scholars, international authorities, and experts in area communities. Some of the symposia topics include appreciation of Chinese art, arts and politics in China, Chinese art in private collections, Chinese theater,